Hey, what's up everybody? Coach Kyle here. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe for future content, look back at old videos, and if you find it especially helpful or interesting, please share. Now, recently I did my weekly Reddit column on protein. So I kind of want to go through, I have my screen back behind the camera here. I want to go through what I put together to pass on to you. So I'll link in the show notes below to the article, or you can just sit here and enjoy my face. So today's topic is protein. So in general, protein is further, when you eat it, it's further broken, or just in general, it's further broken down into amino acids. And you've probably heard of essential and non-essential amino acids. So I think there's 20 amino acids, and about half of them, depending on your age, are essential. That means you can't make them yourself. Like plants, for example, can make all the essential amino acids, can make all the amino acids they need because they don't eat anything. But humans have to eat to get these essential amino acids, the ones that our body can't actually make. Oh, let's see. For those that eat a well-rounded diet of primarily whole foods, you probably get enough essential, non-essential amino acids as it is. For most people who aren't exercising more so than a half hour every 5 days, or a half hour 5 out of 7 days a week, or whatever the current recommendation is. For people who aren't exercising much more than that, they probably are getting enough protein as it is. But if you're watching this video, you're probably not average. So let's go on. First off, as a vegetarian, I wanted to talk about plant protein versus animal protein. So let's see, this is a big topic. In general, plant protein is not as high quality as animal protein. So what this means is it doesn't actually mean that it's not as good. It just means that like most plant sources don't have all the essential amino acids like animal sources like milk, yogurt, chicken breast, fish. Those pretty much always have all the essential, non-essential amino acids that you would need. Whereas plant sources might not have as much of them. So it's kind of, the quality of a protein is based on the amino acids and how they compare to what we need. So I don't see the numbers, I might not have put them in, but for example, if an animal product has 13% leucine, and some plant source has 7%, then there's still leucine, there's still all the essential amino acids in many plant sources, just not that much of it. So that's kind of where the issue is with plant protein. Pea protein, like a pea protein powder, is one of the best protein sources, plant-based protein sources somebody can get. When you're looking for a plant-based protein, I often like to recommend a mixture, so like plant and like quinoa and soy protein all mixed together. Leucine and methionine are the big two that vegans need to be mindful of. Maize and quinoa contain higher than typical amounts of these two amino acids. Lentils and pea protein are also fantastic options. Yep. Link below for the iFit Nourish taste test and review that I did. That's kind of my go-to current fave plant-based protein powder. So why is protein important? When you do strength or work or muscle building activities, which all of you should do, the dietary protein is focused on improving your ability to contract muscles and enlarge them. So when you lift weights and then you eat protein afterwards, the protein is going to rebuild the contractile cells that enlarges the fibers. That's why we get bigger muscles like these guns. But for endurance sport, this muscle growth, this hypertrophy, I got some pretty good guns. It's not part of it's not part of the adaptation response for running 20 miles. So instead, you train for an extended period of time. The protein, it goes towards rebuilding. It goes towards rebuilding the muscle fibers, not like making them larger. It goes to repairing them, but part of it is also goes to increased like mitochondrial density, the powerhouse of the cells, and you don't really get that with bench presses and squats. Best protein sources. When it comes to whole food, egg is a super high quality protein source. And I think how they categorize protein quality like this is egg might be like the golden standard, if I remember correctly, and then everything is based compared to egg. And egg is, luckily, I eat a lot of eggs. I had 2 eggs for breakfast this morning, a 2-egg sandwich. So I eat a lot of eggs. They're inexpensive. I eat cage-free or local eggs. For supplements, whey protein is the one everybody thinks of. And whey is a milk protein. And it's actually it's not the most prevalent protein in milk. So like the whey protein powder that you might have at home is actually it's a byproduct of the cheese making process. So when cheese is made, there's a lot of liquid that comes off of that. Maybe you've made cheese or like paneer. Paneer, is that a cheese? I think we've made paneer. Paneer is a fresh cheese. Yeah, so we've made paneer here at home. That's right. I just want to make sure I had the word correct. And there's that liquid left over. So about, I think, very little amount, like 1% of that liquid is whey protein solid. And you get enough of that and you get a jug of protein powder. And so that liquid's dehydrated, the liquid's removed, there's a little bit of powder left over, and that's where whey protein comes from. So it's not some like artificial weird thing. I mean, it's from cheese production, and you're probably eating cheese. So casein, so first off, back to whey. Whey is a very quick absorption protein. It's broken down, and your blood levels, your blood amino acid level peaks at about 30 to 60 minutes after consumption. So whey protein is best like within 30 minutes, or immediately after a hard or long fatiguing exercise session. You eat it right away to kind of get in that window of opportunity to start the recovery adaptation process. Casein is the main protein in milk. It's about 80% of the protein in milk. And this is a slow release protein. It takes about, I think, 3 to 5 hours for the blood levels of amino acid from casein to peak. So casein is very good to take in pre-bed before you go on a 6 to 8 hour fast. Greek yogurt is super high in protein. Fairlife milk is twice the protein of regular milk, because the Fairlife milk is filtered a little differently. The chocolate tastes amazing, by the way. Greek yogurt, I like the Zero. I forget the brand. It says zero on it because it's zero added sugar, I believe. So that's 10 grams of protein. Both of those, the Fairlife and this Greek yogurt, I believe, are 10 grams of protein per cup. The yogurt might be more, but that's primarily casein. So drinking milk, having yogurt before bed is a really good strategy. And the third type of protein that you'll often encounter is like a plant-based protein. And like pea protein, for example, is kind of the release speed is about in the middle between casein and whey. So we'll say about 2 hours maybe. And it's a pretty good choice to take in pre-bed. If you're a plant-based athlete, you're just going to take that in all the time, basically. You're not going to have to choose between whey and protein. So that's the 3 different main types. How much protein do you need? Good question. So in general, the 20 grams per serving per meal of protein is a good suggestion that you see in the literature pretty much everywhere. 20 grams is about a fifth of what most athletes might need during a day. So, and it's not coincidentally, when you have a scoop of protein or you see a serving size on a protein jug, it's usually about 20 grams. So there's a reason for that, and that's because the research usually uses that amount. For me, 150 pounds, almost 70 kilograms, the recommendation is about 100 grams per day. For somebody who's not training a lot, 1 gram per kilogram per day is okay. For somebody who's training more, they might go 1.5, maybe 2 grams if they're doing a lot of strength work. So that's kind of something to think about. Is I generally just 100 grams is a pretty good level. So for me as a vegetarian, I have to work a little bit for that. For somebody that eats a little bit of meat at every meal, you probably don't really have to mind it too much. Let's see. Older athletes definitely need more protein. The literature is quite clear on this. In general, you could even double the amount of protein, 40 grams of protein after a strenuous exercise session, 40 grams of casein pre-bed, maybe 150, 200 calories is getting, 200 grams of protein is getting really high up there for some people, but a little bit extra protein to help preserve that muscle mass that does deteriorate a little bit as you get past that 40, 50-year-old range. Extra protein will help preserve that muscle mass, the connective tissue, a little bit. Let's see, what else is there? Oh, protein timing. So you've probably heard that you can only digest so much protein at once or within an hour. And in general, it's about 10 grams of protein per hour. However, it's very important to realize that if you eat 20 or 40 or even 80 grams of protein at once, research shows that over like 4 or 5 hours later or later in the day, muscle protein synthesis isn't different. So it probably, you don't just like poop out 60 grams of protein if you eat 80 grams of protein at one meal. So, I mean, in general, it's recommended to space your protein out in like 3 to 4 hour periods, intervals. But if you have to drink a protein shake of 60 grams of protein at one time, you just got to do what you got to do. And I feel like the main benefit of spacing out your protein consumption, your meals in general, is that it's not so much the spacing out that matters, it's that you're not going a long period of time without eating. So it's not so much that, the big part is not so much that you're eating regularly, it's that you're not eating. So, but like I said, go with what you got. And if your work, something doesn't let you eat every 3 to 4 hours, then that's fine, because the research suggests that it doesn't really matter that much with muscle protein synthesis anyway if you eat 20 grams at a meal or even 80 grams at a meal. So that's kind of the rundown of what I have for you with protein. Most important thing is get 10 to 20 grams of protein post-workout after a hard or long session. That same evening, I'll try to take in some protein right before I go to bed. And in general, during the day, I try to take in at least 100 grams of protein every day. And that's just there to make sure I'm getting the adequate building blocks necessary to properly recover, rejuvenate, adapt, grow, and run well. So, as always, you keep running, I'll keep coaching.